Today on America's Black Forum, have African Americans become the target in the nation's war on drugs? Plus, a football revival at Howard University. Welcome to America's Black Forum. I'm Julian Bond.
And I'm Janet Langhart.
It's been nearly a decade since the nation launched its war on drugs, but although prisons filled with drug-related offenders, communities remain plagued by drug traffic and violence. Has the drug war failed? A discussion today with President Clinton's new drug czar, Lee Brown.
And Julian, a look back 15 years ago at the grim mass suicide in Jonestown, Guyana by members of the Jim Jones cult. America's Black Forum brings you a terrifying story. And in business, one of the most successful black car dealerships in America takes the driver's seat in an uncertain economy. Plus, in sports, there's a football revival at Howard University as they celebrate their most successful season in recent memory. All this and more, but first, Julian Bond with the news headlines. Julian?
Thanks, Janet. In Germany, skinhead violence found its first American victim. Duncan Kennedy, a member of the American Luge team, was attacked and severely beaten by neo-Nazis in the village of Oberhof, Germany. The intended target was black teammate Robert Pipkins of New York. While the team says it will return, there are increasing reports of neo-Nazi attacks against foreigners in Germany. And rap music is taking a beating as 3 rap singers have been arrested in incidents involving guns and violence. Snoop Doggy Dogg pleaded not guilty to attempted murder. Flavor Flav of Public Enemy was charged with firing a gun at a neighbor, and Tupac Shakur was picked up for shooting at 2 off-duty police officers. Some wonder what kind of messages this is sending to young rap fans. In the spirit of peace and goodwill, TV and screen star Malcolm Jamal Warner helped distribute gifts to hundreds of needy black children.
You know, I love young people, and I love being able to, to bring whatever it is I can to young people.
The annual event, held by Toys for Tots, brings holiday cheer to those who need it most. Back to you, Janet.
Thanks, Julian. When we come back, a look at the nation's war on drugs.
Potential, a promise of what we're meant to be, abilities crying out, talents bursting into bloom. At AT&T, fulfilling our promise to help the world communicate will keep us reaching out like no one else. Staying connected to you until the best in us all is within our grasp. And that's a promise. AT&T, we never stop reaching out.
Here comes my frat brother Mike. When he pledged, I pledged. I was always following Mike's lead. That is, until now. It's called the Dodge Intrepid. I could see Mike was impressed by the roominess of the cab forward design and the dual airbags. But he was cool. Steering, braking, maneuvering, everything was on the money. But with Mike, you never know. So, how does this compare to your import?
You got me this time.
2 years ago, this car was the most important thing in Joey's life. He spent every dime he had on it. He even quit school to get a job so he could have the hottest ride in town. Today, the job is gone. The car doesn't work anymore. And without a high school diploma, neither does Joey.
I love the library reading program because it offers us the opportunity to go see the children, to experience the joy of reading again. When I was little, my mom and dad told me that if I could read, I could be anything I wanted to be. And when you see how much the children enjoy the library reading program, I think it just reminds you of how wonderful reading can be.
Bill Proctor will read at the Blair Memorial Library on Wednesday, March 9th at 7 p.m. Brought to you in part by Select Care.
Welcome back to America's Black Forum. The war on drugs was begun nearly a decade ago by President Ronald Reagan in a much publicized effort to reduce drug use and crime in America. Now, billions of dollars later, With prisons packed with drug offenders, there are questions raised about the success and fairness of the effort. Disproportionate numbers of those convicted are black. We're joined now by President Clinton's new drug czar, Lee Brown, director of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. Welcome to the show, Secretary Brown.
Thank you.
When you took office, there was great pessimism about the effectiveness of the war on drugs. How's it going in the brief time you've been there?
We're in the process of changing the direction that we're taking. I just completed an interim drug control strategy that was released by the president last month. In that strategy, we're going to target the hardcore drug user. Previous strategies focused upon the casual user. We've seen some progress there.
Why is it necessary to change? What was wrong with the old policy?
It did not address the real problem that we have to be concerned about, that being the people who use drugs on a regular basis, the ones that are bringing about the misery and the despair, and even the death all too often, particularly within the African-American community. We want to make sure we make a difference there. So therefore, our new strategy has really three major priorities. Number one is to attack the demand for drugs, focusing upon the hardcore drug user. Number two, to reduce this senseless violence that we see going on throughout America. This violence has to stop. It's senseless. We're killing each other. And number three, to empower the neighborhoods to address the problem of drugs, crime, and violence. That's what we're going to do. We think with that focal point, that focus, we can, and certainly we must and will make a difference.
At the same time, there seems to be a real conflict between two desires in America. One is to get these people, lock them up, put them away. Another is to engage in the kind of treatment, neighborhood patrols, neighborhood community safety programs. How do you balance these two?
We have to have a two-pronged approach. People are suffering. If you go into the neighborhoods, particularly the African-American community where we see the open-air drug dealing, where we see the drive-by shooting. I might add that those drive-by shootings, those problems are now spreading to the rural areas as well, the suburbs as well, but they're more pronounced within the inner cities. Now, how do you do that? We have to do things like getting those guns off the streets, get them out of the hands of young people that are continuously maiming each other, killing each other. And we have bills pending before our legislature to accomplish that. The Brady bill, a ban on assault weapons, and a prohibition of people 18 years of age and under possessing handguns. We have to also make sure that we carry out the president's promise to put more police officers on the streets, the 100,000 more police officers. But it's more than just bodies on the street. It means also implementing and expanding the concept of community policing. The president's proposal for the empowerment zone will become very important because we can take the resources that we have at the federal level, leverage them with state and local resources in those areas that are hardest hit. We have to also, when we talk about drugs and crime and violence, go at the cause of those issues. As I see it, our drug policy now must include education reform, health reform, make sure we have decent housing for people, make sure we have jobs. I think the critical element would be jobs.
For most people who look at the drug programs now, it seems to be simply locking up black people. Enormous numbers of black young men sitting now in the nation's jails, doing long-term sentences for what are relatively minor crimes on the scale of things. Are you going to reverse that? Are we going to see more of this?
Congress passed minimum mandatory sentencing. The end result was that if a person possesses a certain amount of crack cocaine, they go to prison. If they possess the same amount of powder cocaine, they could get probation. And we know that blacks are the ones who use mainly the crack cocaine, whites the powder cocaine. So we've seen a disparity come about as a result of that.
What about the people who are sitting on top of this drug pyramid, the importers, the large distributors? What's happening to them?
I took a trip to Latin America myself to look at that. The cartels, particularly out of Colombia, they're the ones who control the global drug market. We're working on that as well. We have what we call a kingpin strategy, where we're going in and dismantling those cartels. We've had some success with the Medellin cartel, working with Colombia, and now we're working on the Cali cartel, which controls the vast majority of the cocaine market in this world.
What about here in the United States? One gets the picture that that black kid you see selling crack cocaine on the corner is just the end of a much larger enterprise, and somewhere else there's somebody who doesn't look like that kid who's reaping enormous profits. What about those people?
That's true, and we're focused on that as well. Our objective is to get at those who are bringing the drugs into the country, distributing them, and also making and reaping the real profits from the drug market. That's a target that we have. And when you deal with the drug issue, you have to have various levels. Those who import it here, those who distribute it, those who sell it, and that's what we have going right now. And we'll continue to have a heavy emphasis on those who are profiting from the import of misery and despair into this country.
Looking back on your career in law enforcement, Houston, Atlanta, New York, And leaving aside what your office and the government can do, what can communities do to make sure they're drug-free?
Organize. There's a role for everyone. I think if every parent made sure that their home was drug-free, we'd have a big movement towards stopping the problem right there. Neighborhood groups need to organize and take care of their own neighborhood with the support of their local police and other agencies involved. I think we have to also look at our children. Everyone can serve as a mentor. Take some young child that's in trouble, be a friend, be a counselor, help that child grow up and become a productive citizen. There's a role for everyone.
Very quickly, is this a question of national security in our country? Are we, as a nation, in danger because of drugs?
Indeed, it is a question of national security. The president has said that on more than one occasion. People are being killed every day in the streets of America. People are sending over those drugs, which is a tool, in my estimation, of despair, misery, and all too often death. It is a national security issue that we all have to be concerned about.
Secretary Brown, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
When we return, a look at the grim anniversary of the massacre in Jonestown.
We asked women who clean with bleach, what's under your sink?
Bleach, something to cut grease. Bathroom cleaner, bleach, tile spray.
Something to clean grout. And of course, bleach.
If bleach is so great, what's with that other stuff?
Well,
Introducing new Comet Liquid Gel, the bleach plus cleaner with chlorinol. Comet Gel removes stains like bleach does, plus it wipes out the grease and soap scum bleach can't handle.
that's really something.
New Comet Liquid Gel. When others can't cut it, Comet can.
I think kids today need to learn responsibility. Mine have dish night, and they do a great job. So there's no food like little tomato seeds left stuck on the plates. They always pre-rinse, and they never overload.
No matter who does the dishes, Cascade does the dirty work. Dishes washed without sheeting action are left looking dirty, but Cascade with sheeting action gets them so clean they're virtually spotless.
Perfect. Every night should be dish night.
Everyone has their own idea of a hero.
Magic Johnson. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mr. Neal.
My hero, Gloria Stefan.
Martin Luther King. Mr. Hope.
These are teachers, but to the kids they've reached, they're heroes. They've given them hope. They've given them choices. They've changed their lives.
Well, the children are the heroes.
The most fulfilling thing is watching a child succeed.
I just like to help them make their dreams come true.
Teachers have the power to wake up young minds, to be heroes, to make a difference. Reach for that power. Teach. If you want to make an impact on our future, call 1-800-45-TEACH.
Mr. Wilkins.
Mrs. Eisenhower.
Mr. Adam.
Be a teacher. Be a hero.
Sick and tired of the high cost of health care? Well, we've got your cure with this year's Project Health-O-Rama. Hi, I'm Channel 7 health reporter Denise Fedor. For the entire month of March, you can beat the high cost of health care with free or low-cost health screening tests. Project Health-O-Rama, sponsored by Channel 7 and United Health Organization, a United Way agency. For more information on our 100 locations, call 424-8600.
Welcome back to America's Black Forum. When David Koresh and members of his Branch Davidian cult died in flames this spring in Waco, Texas, few remembered a similar event 15 years earlier in Jonestown, Guyana. Hundreds of members of the Jim Jones cult lost their lives in mass suicide. Special correspondent Renee Kemp reports.
In 1972, San Francisco's black community suffered the same scourges as other major cities: drugs, crime, and broken families. It was the perfect time for a man named Jim Jones, a Disciples of Christ minister from Indiana, to come to San Francisco with a message of hope for black folk. He opened a church called the People's Temple. Within 2 years, he had thousands of members, 80% of them black.
The black churches have failed because all of us as black people who were in People's Temple, we all had one thing in common. We were looking for a leader. He claimed that he was going to lead us and that he was going to lead us to our freedom. And we thought he was Moses, and we jumped on board.
The temple's founder, Jim Jones, was 43 years old. He dyed his hair black and told his flock he was an American Indian, a member of another oppressed minority who could understand the pain of racism.
I owe something to my people, and that's to be a good pastor, and that I am, the best I am.
In reality, he was the son of a Midwestern farm family, and records show his father had been the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. But his good works in the black community attracted attention from powerful people who supported him and the People's Temple.
By the time the people knew it, the Grand Messiah was in place. And so we have the problem as a people that when someone's come bearing frankincense and myrrh, if it smells good, then we believe that this thing must be okay.
But things were far from okay. Despite outward appearances, something very sinister was happening inside the temple. Jones was insisting now that members call him Father. There were public beatings. Members were required to turn over the deeds to their property and all their money to Jones. And worse.
They put on this persona of being very happy. This is what he made them do. He totally controlled them. He told you have sex with this person, I'll have sex with that person. To have sex with a person of the same sex. He controlled their total choice and choices in life.
By 1978, Jones had terrorized his members into staying in the church and recruiting others. Some even believed he was God.
And they was in the middle of service at 2 in the morning, singing. And I took my son, I went to grab my son, I had his head, my mother had his torso, and my grandmother had his feet. And so Jim Jones jumped out of the pulpit and ran up on me. Tell these strangers who I am. And they said, you're God. He even used the Black Panther symbol, the fist. You're God. You're God.
Winona Norwood was able to get her son away and hide him from her family, who had now begun to talk about leaving for paradise in the jungles of South America, a place called Jonestown, Guyana.
A new complex where there would be no prejudice, no racism, and what he called it was the promised land.
We are now at the head of Jonestown Road.
Far from being the promised land, Jonestown was a place of no return. California Congressman Leo Ryan came to Guyana to investigate reports that people were being held against their will. When he tried to leave and take some with him, Jim Jones gave the order, kill them all.
How do you feel about it? Should they die tonight? I would die for you right now, Dad. I'm willing to face the front line with you right now. Thank you, Dad.
I'm prepared to die for this family if I have to for freedom. Thank you, Dad.
The children were killed with poisoned Kool-Aid. Adults who refused to drink were shot dead. In all, 912 people were killed or committed suicide. The vast majority were black.
The graves start just a little bit in front of this tree, and all of these are caskets just lined up.
Nearly half the victims are buried in a mass grave marked only by a small headstone. There are efforts to build a memorial wall to commemorate those who died in Jonestown. And only now are there attempts to determine how so many African Americans were led to their deaths in the jungle.
I've come to realize that we were taken advantage of. That this white man who told us about how King James took advantage of black slaves back in the 1600s, he did the exact same thing to us, and he did it in the 1900s.
This land is where the People's Temple used to stand. In 1989, the massive earthquake that struck San Francisco cracked that building right down the middle. It had to be torn down. Many people said it was a fitting end to a building that had housed so much pain, to a cult that had destroyed so many lives. But was it the end? The FBI currently has dossiers on over 1,700 religious cults still operating in the U.S. today. Renee Kemp for America's Black Forum, San Francisco. In our business segment, black auto dealers are taking the wheel in negotiating through the recession in the automobile industry. One success story at Metrolina Dodge in North Carolina. It's one of the hottest cities in America today, Charlotte, North Carolina. Top banking ratings and a new football team promises to make Charlotte a major business center. A real mover and shaker in Charlotte is Reginald Hubbard. For 5 years, Hubbard has been the owner of one of the nation's top black auto dealerships. Since opening Metrolina Dodge in 1986, his business has ranked with the top dealerships in the country. He says the key is happy customers.
In many dealerships, you drive up in the lot, you are converged upon by 6 or 7 people. We try to, and the slogan we use, and it's, I think more than just a slogan, we take the bother out of buying. We try to approach the customer from the standpoint of sales assistance.
Reginald Hubbard began his career as a salesman for Sears Auto Parts in Charleston, South Carolina. He raised sales there to #1 in only a year. A colleague suggested he'd be a great auto salesman. So Hubbard took him up on it and left his $62,000 a year Sears job, and he's now head of a $40 million auto empire. It ranked 7th in Black Enterprise magazine's top 100 auto dealers. Hubbard's philosophy?
Whether you're selling washers and dryers or adding machines, selling is selling. And I felt I brought that to the table, that aggressiveness, that enthusiasm, that ability to motivate from a selling standpoint, along with a knowledge of service and what it took to not only repair vehicles properly, but service customers along in doing that.
And despite a lagging economy, Hubbard has opened a second dealership in Charlotte. He believes optimism and hard work will see him through any future tough times.
It's always interesting, it's always challenging, and it's never boring.
When we return, football is the game at Howard University. Stay with us.
Introducing Phone Relief, the ultimate in hands-free phone design. Watch. Simply attach the special double-back fastener to any phone. Then attach the Phone Relief headset. It's that easy. It's ideal for the office, a must for the home. It even works on remotes. Use Phone Relief anywhere. Finally, you can talk hands-free with any phone. The amazing breakthrough product you'll use every day. Now only $12.95.
Call 1-800-449-1500. Sorry, no CODs. 1-800-449-1500.
What it like to be free African? Being free. Can't nothing be better than that.
Time Life Video presents Alex Haley's Roots, the saga of an American family's struggle for freedom.
What's your name? Kunta Kinte.
Now you can own Roots and Roots 2, The Next Generations, 2 epic miniseries that jolted Americans into changing the way they looked at their history and each other. Call now to receive Volume 1 of Roots for $9.99. Other tapes will follow about every other month. Use your credit card and get Roots the gift, free.
We is a family, and we is gonna stay a family.
Call now to begin your Roots collection for $9.99 and pass it down to your future generations.
Call 1-800-641-7755 to order your first tape, Roots Episode 1, or send $9.99 plus $3.43 shipping and handling to Roots, Department 145, Box 1322, Buffalo, New York, 14205.
I can do it. I can do it. I can't do it. I can't stop smoking.
Oh, that's a big surprise.
Maybe next Monday.
Sure.
Maybe next year.
Why not?
Yeah, you know, cold turkey.
Cold turkey.
Ah, it's no use. I'm scum. I've
Hey.
been
You want to
scum.
know something?
What?
It took you a long time to learn to smoke, right?
That's true. Very true. Yeah, but I worked at it.
What makes you think you can quit?
I don't know.
Just like that. Quitting takes practice.
I like that.
Well, call us. We'll show you how to quit slow. Slow for good.
I can do that.
I know you can.
It's the Big Ten's version of March Madness when the Michigan Wolverines welcome the Purdue Boilermakers to Chrysler Arena. The Wolverines are headed on the road to the Final Four, but the Boilermakers are close on their heels. We've got your Big Ten matchup, Michigan and Purdue, today at 2 on 7.
Welcome back to America's Black Forum. There is football fever at Howard University. This fall, the Bison are having their best season ever.
During the week, the Howard University campus looks like any other peaceful campus around the United States. But on Saturday afternoons, there's nothing like Howard football.
4th down situation. Walker's going to pass. Touchdown, Howard University.
The Bison are one of the hottest teams in Division I-AA, averaging 432 yards offense per game. Their victories, including a 66-37 stomping of Morgan State, reflect dominance on the field under the leadership of senior quarterback Jay Walker.
Well, I only know one way to do things, and that's to give it 110%. I'm not going to go out there and lighten up on anybody. As a team, we go out there and try and win and put up as many points as possible. So we're dominating. We're dominating.
The 22-year-old Walker's poise and command on the field have earned him mention as a possible early-round NFL draft pick. Walker's coach, former Denver Bronco Steve Wilson, says Walker has a bright football future.
Jay Walker has tremendous NFL potential. He has the size, the arm, he has the width, and I think the one thing that will really make him a great NFL quarterback is he has a tremendous willingness to work and a great will to win, and I think that's one of the things you have to have in order to be a top-notch quarterback. All the physicals are there, all the intangibles are there, he just needs opportunity. When he steps on the field, he's in full command, and evidenced by a number of times this year we've been behind. He has been the catalyst not only in his participation, but also the things that he says and things that he does during the course of the football game to motivate other people to work. So Jay has tremendous leadership capabilities.
Jay Walker credits his strong family upbringing for his determination to succeed.
Family support for me helped me stay out of trouble as a youngster. It allowed me to go to a meeting when I had a meeting, when I made a responsibility. My mom made sure I stuck to the commitment, and she just always taught me, hey, stick with something that you decide to do. My father taught me old-fashioned traditions, and my grandmother told me the first thing and the most important thing in life is to be a gentleman and treat others as you want to be treated.
Jay Walker says professional football is in his immediate future, but his long-term goal is a career of community service in his native Los Angeles.
When you leave football and life, they kind of go hand in hand. I like to be a leader instead of a follower. It's just my way of giving back. That's why I want to go back into politics. To me, life is all about giving back, and I think politics is the way to do it.
Howard University quarterback Jay Walker, a young man with a commitment to his team, his school, and to his community. A student athlete with his eyes very clearly set on the prize. I'm Rich Adams for America's Black Fork.
Well, that's our show for today. I'm Julian Bond.
And I'm Janet Langhart.
Tune in again next week for another edition of America's Black Forum.